Hi, it's Alexander Bardelli, and this is my journal for album review. Known professionally as Sade, Helen Bolshade Adu was a force in R&B. The the Nigerian artist was born on January 16th, 1959 in Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. At the age of 4, she moved with her mother and brother to Southeast England. As a young fashion student at St. Martin's School of Art, Sade became involved in a musical group as a vocalist. Following her schooling and coursework, she joined the band Pride in 1983, touring with them around the UK. This group put her talent in the spotlight. She eventually formed her own group of her partner musicians from the past, namely the bassist Paul S. Denman, keyboardist Andrew Hale, and saxophonist and guitarist Stuart Matthewman. And they signed with Epic Records they made their debut in recording early in 1984 with Your Love is King. Sade and her group focused on a mix of genres, including jazz, R&B, and pop, and the blend of each lending to a unique intersection of musical genres. She is still active in making music, but has prioritized her personal life. This journal will review Sade's fourth studio album called Love Deluxe. Released by Epic Records in 1992, this album is an integral part of Sade's career up until this point. After three successful albums, Sade established themselves as possessing an intersection and compatibility among jazz, R&B, and the pop genres. While this album is quite lovely, it takes a slightly different approach compared to the music of the first three albums. In full, Love Deluxe retains some of the jazz and R&B fusion, but relies significantly less on the pop genre, allowing these songs to be more emotional, almost raw. It is darker than her other albums, but Sade's vocals are still smooth, deep, and low. Sade's recognizable vocals are a large part of what allows this already emotionally raw album to be earnestly intentional and darker. In an interval, in an interview, uh, Sade comments on how an artistic break allowed her and her band to be more intentional about the music they are making and the motives behind their artistic choices. On the album's title, she says, the idea is that it's one of the few luxury things you can't buy. You can buy any kind of love, but you can't get love deluxe, end quote. Overall, this album speaks on the experience of love, especially this type of deluxe love that she is so insistent on highlighting throughout this album. In this essay, I will examine four songs, each of which offers Love Deluxe a unique understanding of the nature of love, as well as differing yet complementary stylistic elements to reflect the fundamental musical characteristics of Shady's career. The first song I will be examining is the opening track of the album, No Ordinary Love. With a runtime of 7 minutes and 20 seconds, this song is an intimate description of the vulnerability and pain experienced by a one-sided love affair. There is a particular groove that is slow and deliberate. This speed complements the emotional depth and gravity of this baneful love aside for the for the artist. For starters, Sade's smooth voice drives the overall tone of the song. Furthermore, the length of the song sets up a sort of loop, amplifying the heartache and the longing that comes with this type of love. I find that it's particularly at play in the repeated chorus. During the chorus, Shady's repetition and elongation in her voice of the phrase, I keep crying, I keep trying for you, like, I keep crying, I keep trying, like that elongation. I think it's particularly notable relating to these themes, like I just said, about heartache and emotional pain. And I read an exciting article by some computer scientists and how they were dealing with musical techniques entitled The Effects of Reverberation on the Emotional Characteristics of Musical Instruments. Um, Here they point out that there is a critical point of intersection between particular musical instrument sounds and distinctive emotional characteristics in the interest of no ordinary love, the effect of a sound lasting had a significant impact on mysterious and romantic emotion. So, indeed, I find Sade's lasting vocals alongside the instrumental accompaniment to encourage feelings of sadness and even emotional pain for the listener. And so, the next song I will examine is Feel No Pain, which is the second song in the album. Now we get a shift from the strictly emotional pain in love, perhaps even just erotic love, to a pain that is found within unfortunate societal contexts. Here, um, Sade comments on poverty, unemployment, and in certain situations through pleas to help people move on and out of particularly wretched circumstances. So she is talking like, oh, mama, papa, um, and kind of like calling them by name. For example, don't let them stay home and listen to the blues. So she's pleading with whomever is up there with trying to free them from this pain. So like the first song, No Ordinary Love, we have the retention of a smooth groove, and it certainly has a core within jazz, which allows it to have a slightly more upbeat tempo as well. There's also quite a bit of repetition of lyrics with the instrumental accompaniment being repeated as a loop, and I think between the two songs, this really drives home the emotional connection for the listeners. I think this song is exceptionally creative as it remains upbeat and groovy despite the grave societal context it is commenting on, which we will get like a stark contrast in my last song I analyze. And speaking of next song, I will analyze The Kiss of Life, um, which is towards the middle of the album. This is one of her more popular songs, and once again, there's a consistent jazzy groove throughout the entire song. I note that a central musical aspect in here, which is a little different than some of the other songs, especially different than the first two I analyzed, is the use of the saxophone, which is consistent throughout. We also get the centralization of the piano, which is which exists in all of these songs, but it is really highlighted, I find, in The Kiss of Life alongside the very, very lovely saxophone. So similar to No Ordinary Love and Feel No Pain, this song uses Sade's smooth voice with an instrumental reverb and spacing, again like that, maybe like waiting or like elongating allows it to be more emotional or more R&B and jazz. Like I think these aspects allow the song as a whole to be more sensual and deeper in meaning, why it really targets the audience so well and the targets the audience's emotions so well. But when I continued to listen to it and I did some further research, I found that this song can stretch beyond erotic love, and it asks the listener to consider what gives you the kiss of life, and it could be anything. Some interpretations I was thinking of was like spiritual, like familial, but also sensual, and it could be redefined and defined throughout time. So the last song I will analyze is one of the more contrasting songs. It is complementary, but it is the most different in, I would say, style and purpose. And the last song is Pearls. I came across this song actually randomly. My Spotify DJ gave it to me, and I knew Sade a little bit, and I thought to myself, oh, like this is different than their other stuff. So I wanted to take a moment to analyze it individually and in comparison to these other songs on Love Deluxe. So to begin, this song does not centralize sensual nor erotic love like most of the other ones are, perhaps with the exception of Kiss of Life. Instead, it truly describes the emotions of a woman in Somalia who endures many hardships, but she keeps on going, or we hope she keeps on going. So the inclusion of pearls is a reference to gathered grains of rice and problems concerning food insecurity and hunger in Somalia. Compared to the last three songs I just analyzed, Pearls is a bit more somber in both lyricism and musical style. It's not upbeat, Sade's decision to use once again smooth and elongated vocals, but this time with slower and softer instrumental accompaniment, truly allows the painful story to be on center stage. I think this is also important in the larger context of the band's career and legacy, particularly how they could use their music to comment on social contexts, like they did in Feel No Pain as well, like talking about unemployment and harsh historical and societal context. Pearls is another unique opportunity that the band has to um, target some voices, perhaps some marginalized voices for many people to listen to and consider. But at first glance, I briefly touched on the song may seem out of place for the album because of its lower tempo, less jazzy, and it's more reliant on piano and I would claim classical elements. But in the end, it certainly shares themes of the shared pain and also collective emotions, similar to all of the songs on Love Deluxe. They all possess a keen sense of emotion, and a lot of it is pain. Perhaps it's emotional pain from love or emotional pain from societal context, also physical pain from your physical well-being in contexts, unfortunate contexts like dealing with food insecurity and hunger. So we're conserving a lot of these themes throughout the songs. So after reviewing this album for this report, I still would highly recommend Sade's Love Deluxe as a vital part of the band's career and also a compelling example of the targeted genre or genres as I initially mentioned. Firstly, all of the songs converge in musical style and thematic value. At the core of the album is Sade's vocals, which are smooth and deep, which really grounds each of the songs and allows them to converge. Their Her vocals are clearly influenced by soul music and jazz, and that's why we can tie the song and the album and all their albums in relation to these types of genres. Like I said, it's we really can't define the band style with one genre. Rather, it is a unique intersection among several genres, which is something that we get more and more in the modern era, which I think is awesome, by the way. And we talked a little bit about that in class this week. But anyway, so I think her vocals are clearly influenced by soul music and jazz, and this is what allows the album to be at the intersection of all these genres, which she and her band aims to do with their other albums. So as a critical listener, I found that Sade's insistence on highlighting the raw emotion in her lyricism and through different musical elements and style choices to be most important, especially as Deluxe successfully fits within the band's targeted genres. Again, this intersection of genres. So overall, I recommend Love Deluxe as a critical and recreational listener of music. Here's my bibliography, and thank you so much.